name's Christian Castillo, and I know what I'm about to show you is going to get you pretty hungry, but I know by the end of this speech, you won't be as hungry as much. Today I'll be explaining to you how fast food is endangering to the health of the consumers. I have researched this topic in the past due to my own health concern because I wanted to know what I was eating and what was in there. And I have been to many fast food restaurants which give me a credible experience of what fast food is all about. So yeah. But yeah, I'm sure most of you guys have probably eaten at a fast food restaurant at one point in your life. And I don't blame you for that, but people enjoy eating out with their family because they like the taste they get from the food they get and from the price they pay, if that makes any sense. But what if that food they get is genetically modified? Food that is genetically modified can have a great impact in the consumer's health because it contains deadly chemicals and fake ingredients such as hydrocodone, something like that. But over the years, fast food companies have, such as McDonald's, have become smarter in the way they make their food. They have pretty much cut every corner of the book, and because of it, we are paying the price. The first thing that I want you to know is what you are really eating when you purchase a meal from your fast food restaurant. Food from fast food restaurants have been genetically modified and can lead to health risk issues. Genetically modified foods are something that we should be aware of because they're around most companies nowadays either way. So an anonymous author from Already Eating GMO explains that genetically modified organisms can be defined as organisms that are already altered to increase the way they are produced. It is incredible the chemicals that they put in the foods that you guys don't already know about, but these are involved in the salads you eat, the burgers you eat, and most of the time the drinks you drink. But these chemicals contain the chemical that I have previously talked to you guys about. It's just called biohydron, something like that. But this chemical, if you have 1 gram of it in your body, it can cause nauseous, it can cause you to start throwing up, it could also cause you to collapse, and if you have 5 grams of this chemical in your body, it can be deadly. But now that you know what's in the food that you eat from fast food restaurants, I would like you to know that the food that you eat does cause diseases, and those diseases are diseases such as diabetes. The life-threatening chemicals that are put in food, by continuing to eat processed fast foods, the body organism starts to not function anymore, which eventually causes the pancreas to wear out and is unavailable to produce enough insulin to help the body use glucose and use a condition where the sugar stays in the blood, and that's according to Linda Helper from forget that. Alright, well, these chemicals that they put in the foods can be really dangerous and have killed a lot of people in the past. Here's an example. In 2007, diabetes was listed as the underlying cause of 71,000 deaths in the US, and an additional 160,000 death certificates have been issued. This means that diabetes has contributed to a total of 231,000 deaths overall a year. Now that you know how harmful it is to eat fast food products, I'm going to show you a couple ways that companies can better the situation. Changing genetically modified foods to organic foods can also benefit the company and also benefit the consumer as well, because the organic foods give me a second, sorry. Alright. Companies should convert to organic foods because most parents will be bringing their children into the company because their foods are more filled with nutrition and vitamins, because organic foods are not made with chemicals and are naturally grown around the U.S. Although these different routes sound like the solution to most problems, most fast food companies will not change their game plan because they see a lot of money being spent, and because of it, they don't want to spend extra money because they will not see profit in return. I guess I don't know, on the quick. But for example, if McDonald's would convert the whole dollar menu into an organic variety, it would obviously cost a little more than $1, but in return you'll see more customers coming back because their expectations have finally been met. But this will give the certain company a lot more credit for the food they serve. If companies would start to serve organic foods, children would be less overweight, which most of them are today. This morning I went over the fast foods is endangering the health consumers. Also, the genetically modified food is served to consumers can cause health risk issues. In today's American society, fast food has been causing a big issue, and restaurants such as McDonald's have revolutionized the way they get their fast food products, and by doing so, it's endangered the consumers from across the country. They have pretty much cut every book in the book. They have pretty much cut every corner in the book, and because of it, consumers are paying the price. Thank you.
My girl does look good though.
So Catherine, could you please tell us what you thought?
Well, I thought that his opportunities were that, one of them I noticed that he was going to be using a source, and then he kind of just dropped it. And then I felt that he should have been a little bit more polished with his speech. And I felt that he also relied a lot on his notes, so he was looking down a lot, and he wasn't making that much contact with the audience. His strengths were that he did have a really good hook, which grabbed the audience attention. He had a good, relatable topic. He was clear about what he was going to talk about, and he was very informative with his topic as well.
Okay. Christian, you kind of get started speaking before you're really in front of the audience, and I know the temptation once you put up the picture is to kind of get going, but it does feel a little bit like you're walking onto the speech while you're speaking as opposed to grabbing, where are you? I know you're out there somewhere. There you are. That you're walking into the speech in the middle of the speech when you do that, and I think that that's a little problematic. There is a purpose statement in your speech, and I think you give a little personal justification on that. I think that's the right way to go. I did not really hear a preview, and some of the things that you talked about were not things that I would have expected to be hearing about in the speech, and I think that a preview might have created a little bit more anticipation and preparation on the part of the audience. The whole issue of genetically modified foods sounds like it's dramatically different from most of the criticisms of fast food, which have to do with all of the other things that are in them, the fats and the sugar content and the processing that creates things that are problematic. I didn't hear any specific reference to what genetic modification is causing what problems, and I didn't really hear any authorities except an anonymous source that you gave us that talked about genetically modified foods in fast food. So to me, it seems like it is really underdeveloped at this particular point. There's a suspicion there that has been raised by somebody, but they're not identifiable, and I need some stronger information to believe that this is something that's actually going on. Now, you talk about I think you're conflating the presence of particular chemicals with genetic modification. And that's not the same sort of thing. There might be chemicals that are used in the food processing, either for preservation or for processing purposes, that are potentially dangerous, but that's not the same thing as genetic modification. You do make a reference to one chemical. You had a little bit of trouble with pronunciation on it, and I think that what you want to do is try and get that developed a little bit more and tell us what kinds of foods it's in. And you mentioned, for instance, that it could, if it was at these particular levels, it could be really dangerous, even poisonous. And so the first question that pops into my mind is it at those levels in the food that were being served? And I didn't really get any information on that. You make a link to diabetes, and that now you're connecting the diabetes to the food processing and the genetically modified food, as opposed to simply the obesity that is a result of eating all of the crappy fast food that people consume. You know, I think that diabetes is probably clearly related to the fast food, because people consume it. You get overweight. That's the thing that creates the onset of type 2 diabetes. You're connecting it to the processing of the food, and I needed to hear better information on that. You started to present a source on that, and then you bailed out on that source as if it was, oh, I guess that's not the right information. It looked to me, as you were closing down, like you had a slideshow program that you were going to use, but we never saw any of the other slides. Basically, we got wallpaper in the background for your presentation.
Yeah, and I got carried away, as you can tell.
Yeah, and so it's, you know, it's not integrated into the speech, and that might have helped structure it a little bit more, make it easy to follow. Maybe it would have explained some of the things that you're talking about. I'm not sure. That's all potential. As it was, all we have is the, like I said, the wallpaper in the background while you're speaking to us, reminding us of what the topic is. And I think that that's not really enough to add to the speech to even make it worthwhile. I mean, it's not a penalty that you have it in the background, but I don't think that it really adds much to the presentation. It sounds to me like your exit line is a quote from someplace, but it doesn't seem like it's attributed. If it is your own work, then it shouldn't have to be read so obviously, and you need to be a little bit more careful about the citations of material in the speech. It feels a little bit like it's, you know, rough draft form as opposed to, you know, a more polished form. All right, thank you.